We know almost nothing about the school of the Manticore. In fact, at the time of writing, we only know of one Witcher that belonged to this school, Merton. Merton was given to the school of the Manticore as a child, to be mutated into a Witcher. He of course survived the trials and went out on the path. But Merton often seemed to enjoy alcohol a bit too much, and was almost always drunk. When Merton went to Caen around 1200, he wanted the Grandmaster, smith, Sale, to forge him Grandmaster Manticore armor. However, the elven smith refused to deal with someone who was drunk, and sent him away to sober up. Merton soon after, however, would get into a fight with the ducal guards while drunk before he could sober up, and as a result he was locked up in Bastogne prison. While in prison, Merton shared his cell with the devout follower of the prophet Lebioda. During the first few months in prison, Merton made fun of the man and his beliefs, but as time passed, something changed in him. Merton started to listen to the man's words about Lebioda. He started to become interested, and over the course of the 2 years he was in prison, he learned everything he could about the prophet from his cellmate. His cellmate was surprised at how much Merton had changed, but saw him being able to teach Merton as a gift from Lebioda. The Witcher had decided to leave the life of a Witcher behind, and instead go on a pilgrimage in honor of the prophet. Merton felt as though he had wasted his life in sin and wanted to repent, and, as a parting message, his cellmate told him where to start his pilgrimage: the cave where Lebioda once received enlightenment. On the 7th of Fane in 1203, in the cave, Merton left behind his life as a Witcher, in the hopes of being forgiven for his sins. He cut all ties he had while Witcher, which included the elven smith Sale, and set out on the pilgrimage as a new man. His next stop in his quest for salvation was the temple of Lebioda, where he was to meet with the Great Beggar, the most devout follower of Lebioda around. The Great Beggar recently had been receiving many threats from locals, who wanted to end his life for claiming Lebioda was the only correct religion, and that their gods were not real. The arrival of Merton was a nice surprise for him. He was astonished that the Witcher had left the path behind, and was now a follower of Lebioda. Merton confessed all his wrongdoings to the man, in hope of being forgiven. The Great Beggar sent Merton to the hidden chapel, where the Witcher would face a trial, which, if he survived, would prove to him that Lebioda had forgiven him for his sins and wrongdoings. The hidden chapel was located in the Cave of Tribulations, also known as the Murky Delf. The cave was home to hallucinogenic mushrooms, which would result in those who entered to see things that weren't there, like women without clothing, beggars wanting for coin, and a person in need of some saving from monsters. If someone was with the right mindset, they would be able to get through the cave in relative safety. Others not so much. At the end of the cave, one could see the prophet Lebioda, and would be shown a vision. When Merton arrived at the end, he got a vision of his next destination, the Lake of Cleansing, where Lebioda once healed people in need. Merton prayed to Lebioda, in hopes that the Great Beggar would be safe and that the peasants would understand that he meant no harm. However, his prayer fell on deaf ears, as within 2 days of Merton leaving the cave, the Great Beggar was entombed by angry peasants who walled him off from the outside world, while they raided the temple for valuables. He would perish, at peace with his fate, for he was convinced that was Lebioda's will. Merton, meanwhile, made his way to the Lake of Cleansing. It was here where he officially left behind his life of a Witcher on the 32nd of Fane in 1203. In the lake, he was born anew, and left behind everything that connected him to his past, as a Witcher, including his name. He would no longer be called Merton. Instead, he would now be Chavel. He felt lighter than ever, convinced that he was cleansed of sin. He listened to the advice that those along the way had given him, to listen to his inner voice, and so he did. The former Witcher Merton was now the priest Chavel, and went on his way north to Temeria, Adarn, and finally the Dragon Mountains to spread the word of Lebioda. He went north, and we do not know where he has gone since and what has happened to him. As he was a witcher, he still had the effects of a prolonged life, which means that if he managed to stay out of conflict for about 70 years, he would still be around and alive, spreading the word of Lebioda during The Witcher 3. So, what do you think of Merton? Did he make the right choice in life? Till the next video. Bye.